What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Me TV Reviews. I am your host, Mo, and tonight, y'all, we're going to be discussing The Residence. That's right, y'all. This is Season 1, Episode 2, titled Dial M for Murder. I hope you guys have had a wonder start to your week. So, without further ado, let's go ahead get into the synopsis for this one, and then we're going to get right into the episode. So, the synopsis for this one is from celebrities and cabinet members to plumbers and pastry chefs. Everyone is in the hot seat as Cordelia conducts interviews. All right, y'all. We're doing scene for scene this go around, y'all. So if I forget something, charge it to my head and not my heart. All right, so we start this episode off with one of my favorite jazz songs, Take 5, as we see what's happening on the White House perimeter in the yard from a bird's eyes view. All right. So this bird is flying around and we see some people running off to go get a little wild outside. Okay. Tap into their wild side outside in the wild. And then we see somebody standing off near a tree. And then we see somebody in what looks to be like a greenhouse of some sort with a light. So clearly somebody's looking for something, okay? The bird circles around the White House a couple of times and the scenes just seem to speed up a little bit quicker. So we then find ourselves with Cordelia and the foreign prime minister, David R. I don't remember his last name, y'all. Just foreign prime minister David, all right? So he's telling Cordelia about what happened when him and AB went to go talk to Marvella. Now, Marvella is the head chef there, and she's pissed because AB has just told her that there will be no open flames, no hot flames at the dinner, at the state dinner. You can't do this open flame stuff. It's not safe. It's a hazard, right? So she gets upset because she feels like the president and his lover, or his husband, excuse me, have brought her in because she wants to try different things. Okay, she don't want to keep going with the same status quo country club BS. Okay, I want to do something different. I want to bring a different experience to this. This is my first state dinner. I want to make a first great impression. Okay, I want to make a statement, and you are not allowing me to do so. You're not allowing me to craft. Okay, so her and AB go back and forth for a second. Then the pastry chef comes in because he heard the flame. All he heard was no open flame. And he was like, wait a minute, hold on. Does a rule still apply to me? Because he's supposed to be making banana Fosters at the table. You have to have the open flame, the hot flame at the table, because if not, that kind of knocks the taste off of it, right? The presentation, the taste, it's all of it. And AB tells him as well, no open flames at the state dinner. So now both of them is pissed. So Marvella started breaking glass. They hurry up and try to get out of there. And so she goes on to serve whatever they had originally served, or whatever they were scheduled to serve, rather. And people making fun of her dish because it's real tiny. You know how, like, you go to those fancy dancy restaurants, you pay oodles and oodles of money for what looks to be probably like a 5-ounce, maybe a 4-ounce, like 2 or 3 really good bites out of something, and that's the meal. Well, that's what's on this plate that she putting out. So people are upset because what is this? I can't even feed my kid with this. This ain't enough to fill them up. This is cute and petite. So she's clearly upset. So David was like, I felt really bad about it. And so I went to go apologize to her because I knew she was still upset. So he goes in there to talk to her. And he gets ready to apologize to her. And then all of a sudden they start making out with Kylie Minogue singing in the background. She's singing another song. So apparently she does have another song. So they're making out, right? So then they decide to take it outside. So they're outside and they're finna get ready to get it in. She got overly enthused, and I don't know if she was finna give him a blowy or what, but y'all, she ended up like headbutting him, like when she was coming up, and she hit his nose. So it bust his nose, and his nose started bleeding everywhere. But that did not stop them. That didn't stop them from doing what they was doing the grown folk stuff. So they getting it in outside behind this tree when he happens to look up and he notices that there's a random person standing beside this tree, right? All way off in the distance. But to him, it made it feel like they were watching him and her get it in. And so he started to feel uncomfortable, right? Well, then the person ended up moving and they went to the greenhouse. And then I think they might have broken into the greenhouse, because then we start seeing like a flashlight from a camera, or sorry, a flashlight from a phone. Just kind of like looking around to see if they could find whatever they was looking for, right? So it made him uncomfortable. I don't know where Marvella went to, but he ended up coming back in by himself. And so when he's coming back in, he runs into AB. And AB was like, Prime Minister David, you okay? What you doing? You got blood all over your shirt. And he was like, nosebleed. And so AB was like, okay. Were you out there by yourself? And he was like, yeah, he don't want to give up the jig that he was out there, messing around. You supposed to be here on official business, and you out here hanky-pankying around. So he was like, okay, well, let's go get you cleaned up. So he ends up going to his office, right? And they take the long scenic route. Or they take the back way so nobody sees them. I'm sorry, y'all. So they end up getting to his office and they swap shirts. So AB now has on his shirt and he done gave him his shirt, right? So this is kind of snug on him because, there's a height difference there, clearly. And a stature difference as well. So, after he finished putting his shirt on, AB ends up getting a phone call, right? And so he was finna get ready to leave out, but AB was like, hold on, wait a minute, because I think he probably had something else to tell him. So by the time he got off the phone, AB told him, I'm going to be dead by the end of the night. And so at this point, Cordelia and David have rejoined the rest of the group because he was initially just interviewing with her privately, right? And so he wanted to make sure that he had diplomatic immunity first before he told this whole story. So now everybody hears this and they're like, what the hell? What do you mean? And so then here come Harry talking about, oh, well, that explains the shirt then, huh? See? Okay, so we're off the hook with that. Okay, but that don't solve the rest of the mystery and how he ended up dead, because this is still not a suicide. So then she tells him that she wants so she asked for the toxicology report for AB. She also asked for the phone call to be traced, and then to ensure that the blood that was on his shirt was actually Prime Minister David's. So the president was like, okay, cool. Anything else that you need? No, not really. Okay, well, everybody free to go then. So here comes the Prime Minister for Australia. It's the president. So he was like, hold on, wait a minute. I can't even remember his name, y'all. So anyway, the president for Australia was like, hold on, wait a minute. No, this is not how this works. What you not gonna do, because we already on shaky ground, is allow us to leave up out of here just so you can turn around and blame this murder on us after we leave. That's not gonna work. So here come Harry piping up, still talking about the suicide stuff. And he was like, well, Detective Hollinger, I heard what you said, but what do she say? Because she's the only one that done solved all these very high profile cases. Now, I forgot to mention that when she was having a private interview with Prime Minister David, she had knew that he had on AB's shirt, and that AB had on his shirt because of the specific type of shirt that AB had on, because he had gotten that shirt specifically from like Melbourne. She was out there for a couple of months solving this very high profile case. So it turns out Prime Minister David's ex-wife was down the street from the victim, from where the victim lived at. So he was like, oh man, that was you? Yeah, that was her. And so he was like, coming back to what President of Australia was saying. She's the only one that done solved all these high profile cases. What do she say? Do you think it's a suicide? And she was like, no, I don't. Okay, well, it's settled then. We just gonna be here until we get the answers that we need. And so he was like, after that, everybody can go home. And so here come the president of the U.S. talking about, well, I'm already at home. And he was like, well, I figured that you would be more concerned about a murderer running through your house then, wouldn't you? Don't you want to get this solved now? So they don't have a choice now. So that was amazing reverse psychology. But she actually had help in this. So it turns out, y'all, she had basically blackmailed Prime Minister David, she threatened to expose his little tryst with Marvella to everybody else if he didn't help her convince the president of Australia to allow them to stay until she solved this case. So she ended up telling Chief Dokes what happened, like, right away, right? And then later on down the line, she ended up telling Special Agent Edwin, who's kind of like following behind her silently. He's supposed to be helping, but he ain't helping. And so we go back to the congressional hearing, y'all, and Senator Biggs, this is the only woman that's really like piping up to say anything. She is eating all of this up, y'all. So they started interviewing everybody. I'm sorry, y'all, the kids is kidding. If y'all hear any noise in the background, everybody's still up. So they start their interviews and they spread out amongst 3 different locations. They have interviews going in the state dining room. They have interviews going in the green room, and then interviews going in the china room. So they have the first person come in. His name is Eddie Gomez, and he's a carpenter, right? So she has everybody writing their names down in their job description. Not a job description, Lord. Their job classification. And she has them hold it up, right? So she can remember everybody while she takes a picture. Perfect, right? So he sits down. He writes out all the information she needs, takes the picture, and then she just sitting there looking at him. Y'all, why am I just now noticing that she played on Orange is the New Black? And it was in that very distinct scene that I recognized who she was. I was like, oh my gosh, that's her. So she just sitting down. Her and Edwin, they not saying nothing. So then this dude started getting uncomfortable, right? And so he getting ready to get up and walk back out because he was like, I didn't see anything. I didn't notice anything. I'm sorry for what happened, but I don't know anything. I wasn't there. So then he finna ready to hit the door. He think about it again. And he was like, actually, you know what? We had to call Bruce in. Bruce came in because it was so much shit happening. It was just like an overload, right? And so he said, I went to try to go find Bruce because we had gotten busy. And I mean, if he gonna be on call, he need to be helping. So I went to go look for him because I thought he was in AB's office. But when I got up to AB office, AB was arguing with somebody. But it wasn't Bruce because I saw Bruce like a few seconds later somewhere else. So he said, I heard AB arguing on the phone with somebody and he was telling them how he was going to expose them, and I had never seen him get that upset. Out of the 17 years that I've worked under him, he's always kept a cool head, always kept it under control. I've never seen him this angry before. He was threatening to expose somebody. He was going to tell everything. So, I don't know what happened, y'all. So she starts holding more of the interviews. And I forgot to mention that Eddie had said that he had heard that argument between AB and somebody else that was in office around 9 o'clock, 9:30, somewhere off in there. So she hosts the rest of the interviews, and we kind of get a timeline building up to that time where other people saw AB. But then the one lady that I believe drunk Mrs. Cox drank, she said that she had saw AB in the East Room around 9 o'clock, but he wasn't by himself. He was with Harry Hollinger. And it was multiple people that said that, including Rolly. And so they bring Harry in to question him, and he denies everything. He denies being with AB. He denies leaving the performance area where Kylie was performing. And then he was like, well, I might have went to the bathroom. And Rolly was like, he was gone for 22 minutes. And so then Eddie comes back in and says, I didn't see who was there with him that was in the office arguing with AB, but I made a run for it when I heard the door open, and then right after he ran down the steps and he hid in like this room, right? But he kept the door cracked. Well, following right behind him was Harry, but Harry didn't see him, but he saw Harry. So then here comes, and so then they end up talking to one of the maid's housekeepers. And she says, oh, I didn't see anything on the second floor. And Cordelia was like, I didn't say anything about the second floor. So clearly something is happening and the housekeeper done slipped up. So then Trip, the brother, comes in. And Trip's whole alibi was that he was asleep by 9:30. Even though he lives on the same floor where AB was killed at, or where his body was found. He claimed he didn't hear nothing. And so she ends up asking him, why you didn't go to the party? And he was like, why didn't you go? And she was like, well, I wasn't invited. Well, turns out he wasn't either. And so he was like, I ain't want to go no way. My brother's an a-hole and he throw all these boring parties. I was asleep by 9:30. All right, whatever. So then they end up talking to Jasmine. And so Jasmine says, everybody was okay for a little minute. Not them, I'm sorry, the congressional people who talked to Jasmine. And so she says that everybody was okay for the first couple of hours while they was waiting to be interviewed, but then people started getting antsy, and so they made up things to keep people busy. People were pretending to be waiters and waitresses. People were pretending to, not pretending to, they were getting tours from the tour guides through the White House. Hugh Jackman was over there showing people how to tap dance. It was a whole thing, right? But everybody was just kind of really anxious to get interviewed by Cordelia. So then here comes Bruce, the engineer that was called in. So when he gets ready to go in and talk to Cordelia, the housekeeper who says she didn't see anything on the second floor ends up making eye contact with him, and both of them look really nervous. So through the various interviews, when we get to Bruce says that he went up to Tripp's room because there was a plumbing issue. Okay, he had to go unclog the pipe. Well, by the time he got done, it was about 9:30. And so they asked him, was Tripp in there? Because Tripp had told them that he was asleep by 9:30. And he was like, no, he wasn't there. So where was Tripp? So throughout the rest of the interviews, you get various points of view. It was a pretty chaotic night. It seemed like things were going wrong in every which way. um the first president lady, prime minister of Australia, she was allergic to the flowers that the florist had put out because nobody had told him that she was allergic to those. The calligrapher thing wasn't acting right. People were seated in the wrong spots. The musician that they had scheduled to perform canceled, and so Kylie Minogue, who just happened to be there as a guest, was requested to perform. And so she sung Can't Get You Out of My Head 7 freaking times. So it seemed like everything was going wrong. All right. But it is what it is. So then they talked to Lily, and Lily was like, you know what? Yes, things were crazy tonight, but this is not the first time that shit has went way left. Okay, you go back to certain other days, like the move-in day. like the March the 4th, whenever there was like a terrorist threat or an assault on the White House or something like that. Okay. There were various days where AB would have been pulling his hair out, but some kind of way he held it together. But the staff that worked under him just kept constantly like coming at him constantly. So now they also mentioned a crash that had happened. Some Secret Service agents had crashed into the South Gate or something like that, and people could have sworn up and down that they saw AB leave out of there. But no, the one lady, I think it was a reporter, said that she was with AB when the crash happened. And we also get various stories about what he was doing when she was with him. He was arguing with somebody. He was making jokes with somebody. He was laughing with somebody, even though he never laughed a day in his life. It was a mess. So, various stories about what AB was doing that night. That just shows you how reliable people's memories are. And it's why you should always try to get information as soon as something happens, because if not, ain't no telling. Because even then, it's unreliable. But if you wait some time, it makes it 10 times worse. So then Lily had mentioned how AB really didn't seem to get along with Elliot, who is the first gentleman of the house. That's Perry's husband. And so he was like, no, AB was really decisive, but did we argue? Absolutely. But did I respect him? Yes, I did. So it seems like a lot of people respected AB. They swear up and down, that they loved him, but of course that's what you're gonna say when you're considered a suspect in his murder, right? So then they talked to Marvella. Now, Marvella was the only person that they know of for sure that had threatened to kill AB because he wouldn't allow her to do the dish that she wanted. And so she was like, yeah, we didn't always see eye to eye. He was different. Okay, we had different views, but he always stood up for me. Okay, and so then they asked her about the comment that she made, and she was like, what do you mean? That's how I always talk to him. That's how we always interacted. She meant no harm by it, no like physical, true harm to him. And so then she said that she ended up messing with the Prime Minister David dude. And so they asked her what she did after she left with him, because technically she doesn't have an alibi after 9 o'clock. And so she was like, actually, yes, I do. She said she went in through the staff entrance, and Angie, one of the painters, actually saw her come in about 9:15, 9:30. And so then they interview Angie, and it turns out that Angie was really close to AB. They weren't like besties or anything like that, but they were very, very close. And so she's distraught about his death. I don't know if they've been there around the same amount of time, but she knows that he's been there for 23 years, and he really took full responsibility for all the good and bad things that happened in that house. Okay. He took whatever happened there very personal. And so she was like, tonight was very chaotic. It was upsetting to him. And so, would I had ever thought that he would have committed suicide before tonight? No. But after tonight, there's a possibility. But she mentions how he always wrote all of his feelings down in the journal. So he's got a number of journals laying around somewhere. She asked them, had they found them yet? And they said no. So where are the journals? So after all of the interviews were over and done with, y'all, Cordelia's brain is in overload mode. Okay. She's so overwhelmed with all the information, useless or useful. Either way, it was a lot. All the people, all the pictures, all the stories. Having to put all of that together and make it fit in one timeline was a lot. And so, Agent Parks was saying how she had told him this is when she goes back to her experience with birding. Okay, sometimes you just have to wait till something comes to you. And oftentimes while you're waiting, something does come. And so while she was waiting, while she was burning, looking over all of the pictures and all of that, they finally come in and tell her that they were able to trace that phone call from AB's office. So then they head to the greenhouse that I had told y'all about earlier in the day. And she goes over there and she does see a phone there. So she tells them to fingerprint it just in case something comes up, right? And so then she also notices that there's a shard of a glass on the ground. So she's trying to place this glass, and of course we remember seeing one similar to the one lady that was finna get ready to take the drink up to Miss Cox. She had a similar glass in her hand, right? So then she goes outside because she hears a noise. She hears a falcon. She looks up and she sees this falcon, and then it just comes to her, right? So she rushes back in the White House and she tells them to have AB's body rolled out through the front and not the back, because she wants to see everybody in the same spot to see what their expression is going to be once they see his body being wheeled out. Okay. And so she kind of compares it to a falcon almost, because the falcon, and that's why she admires them so much, because they're able to find a subtle weakness, the most subtle weakness in somebody, and turn that into a reason why they're now prey for the falcon, right? So she wants to see if there's any subtle hint of guilt for any of the suspects, right? So, a side note, why they couldn't put that man at least halfway in a body bag? Y'all, they just put him on a gurney and strapped him down and rolled him out. I was like, he dead. What he gonna do? Unless it's like the episode of House of the Dragons where we thought the little baby head was gonna roll off of the thing. Anyway, y'all, so they done strapped him down to the gurney and is rolling him through, right? They didn't put him in a body bag. They didn't leave his face unzipped so people could at least see his face. So everybody's giving off different feels for seeing him, right? But the only person that really stands out to her is the pastry chef, Mr. Goddard, something like that, right? Now remember, he got pissed off earlier in the episode because he couldn't do his banana Fosters, no open flames, right? And so then Special Agent Parks happens to see him as well, because him and Cordelia been making eyes across the room, right? So he ends up following Mr. Goddard. And y'all, as they're following him out, he's got a blue mark on the back of his uniform, and it matches that chalk from the pool stick cue. So he was definitely in that room, and we see the last scene of him in the room with AB with that knife, that tilted knife. He's picking up the bloody knife, and he's the one that is leaving out of that room when Nan is coming up and she discovers AB's body. And that's the way the episode ends. Now, I don't think he has anything to do with it. I think this is just a red herring, but we'll see. All right. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about it. Okay. You can reach me at Me and You TV Reviews on Facebook and on Instagram. You can also reach me at My TV Reviews Podcast without the S on the end at gmail.com. So I will say, y'all, I know it's been a minute, but I just want to thank you guys for continuing to come back. I definitely appreciate you all. It goes without saying, right? I need to say it more often. So I actually went over to Apple, and while I still can't see the reviews, y'all, please keep leaving them. Please keep starring me up over there. I got a couple of extra more stars on Spotify. Okay, so keep starring me up wherever you are listening. It is definitely appreciated. And I'll also say this, because I did notice that while y'all are turning out in numbers, half of y'all ain't following. So just go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Just go ahead and hit the follow button. So whenever a new show comes out, then you'll have it. All right. That's all I have for now. You guys stay safe out there. I love y'all. And until we meet over the airwaves again, I am Mo, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.